So, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Shubda Chaudhary, and I'm an analyst for Middle Eastern affairs. And today I'm going to tell you everything that you do not know about the Iran, Israel, and US crisis that is completely embroiling the region so far. So, what do we know as of now? The first point that we know that last night there was Israeli strike against Iran in the area called as Isfahan, the city, which is the air base. And since it's the air base, along with it, it's also the nuclear capability of Natanz nuclear enrichment site is also there. So it's quite interesting that how could Israel miss? But the point is that I'll tell you more about how the Iranian nuclear sites are really safeguarded in the next video. But today we are going to talk about what exactly is the history of Iran and Israel ties, which was a tacit compliances. Uh, and in detail. And there's a lot of deep state, a lot of espionage, a lot of spies involved in it. So let's start with what we know as of now. So last night there was Israel attacked Iran. The western part of Iran was the airspace was closed. There was no casualty as such reported. Both Iran and Israel confirmed it. As of now, the British Foreign Secretary and the German counterpart have been in Tel Aviv, specifically to try to mitigate the situation. What exactly Israel is doing? Israel is trying to uh, misdirect or dissuade the tensions of the ongoing Gaza crisis since October 7th from the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian question uh, towards Iran. What exactly Iran is doing? Iran, along with the Houthis who are attacking and globalizing the international shipping route by this entire means, they are trying to, along with the Iraqi militias, they are trying to internationalize the conflict and not let it be just an entire mayhem that is just happening in West Asia. So now coming to the facts that you don't know. So the point number one is that did you know that when Israel was established in 1948, it desperately wanted Iran to recognize it. Now, why? Because Iranian airspace is very important, and at that point was very important to bring out the Israeli Jews back to Israel. So, but because of the ulemas and because of the theocracy, Iran did not recognize. What you did not know is that in 1950, 6th of March, after a lot of negotiations between the Israeli intelligence, Mossad, and there was an American agent also called as Adam. We don't know what his real name was. And the businessmen on the side of Iran. They specifically chartered out a deal which was of around 400 million US dollars as bribe, which was given to Iran to officially recognize Israel. Did you know about this? It was quite surprising for me too. The second thing is that now things start turning. The wheels of time do not stay the same. So on May 1951, when the Iranian Prime Minister, democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh comes into power, the ulemas come up to him and they tell him that no, you do not have to recognize, Israel, and we are against the entire establishment of Israel. Mossadegh is democratically elected and he is looking into, and he's a moderate, and he's looking into different kinds of narratives which are emerging out of Iran at that point of time. But before he could do anything, the CIA, as we all know, engineered a coup. In 1953, Mossadegh was gone. Shah Reza Pahlavi was back. They were, anyway, these puppets of the Americans before, and the recognition and the ties with Israel continued. Now, CIA, Mossad had a lot to do with whatever in domestic politics was happening in Iran. At the same time, a lot of after in 1979, when Ayatollah Khomeini specifically became the supreme leader of the theocracy of Iran, that is when Yasser Arafat visited Tehran and he was able to get a smile out of Ayatollah Khomeini, which never really used to happen much. And they stated that they are not going to recognize Israel and not have any kind of ties with Israel. But what we really don't know is there was a very secretive covert operation that was going on between Iran, Israel, and US regarding the arms deal. Now, what happened? For 8 years, from 1980 to 88, both Iran and Iraq were embroiled in the regional war. Now, Iran had one compulsion, which was that their entire military infrastructure, everything, even the secret police, which was SAWAK, was initiated by Mossad and trained by CIA. So, and the entire military equipment was very Americanized. They wanted to deal with Saddam Hussein. How could they increase their military accomplishment? That was the one reason which um, maybe forced, persuaded Ayatollah Khomeini to have ties with Israel, tacit ties, which were later revealed. And these are all historical facts. But there were tacit arms deals that were going on between Iran and Israel. And this was something which was very weird for Egypt, for Hosni Mubarak, for Jordan, for Kuwait. Egypt and Jordan stated that, Iran is behaving like a wife with a faithless husband. Kuwait said that Iran is dealing with two Washingtons, the Greater Washington and the Lesser Washington, the Greater Washington being Israel. So, nevertheless, the idea of Israel was to create Iran as the enemy of the Arab states. The more, the longer the Iran-Iraq war goes on, they supply military weapons, to missiles, Hawk missiles, the better they are able to make out of it. Uh, Israel is not being threatened. Let them fight amongst themselves and we will help over them. So now this was an interesting situation, that how do you deal with it? Now, the most interesting part is that the Reagan administration at that point of time had a misconception that they have to trust Israel because Israel internally knows whatever is domestically happening in the West Asian countries. So if not them, but through Israel, even though they have imposed arms embargo and sanctions on Iran, but through Israel, if they are able to sell weapons to Iran, they can always have the plausible deniability. At the same time, they can have the intelligence reports, which are given by Israel regarding the Arab states and the non-Arab states to US. At the same time, Israel was trying to have the US pressure a little less. They wanted to be the superpower in the region. They wanted to take every news and opportunity and exploitation in their own hands. And they wanted to have this very sudden, silent partner in the name of United States of America, which is helping them, which is able to intervene, because this is also the time of the Cold War, remember. So Israel was playing both the cards. Now, the interesting thing is that Israeli connected armed forces started selling in the black market of Europe arms to Iran. And these were around $3 billion worth of it, because Israel also wanted plausible deniability in this case. President Reagan was specifically advised by four advisors on his foreign policy in this case, which were David Kimche, then Yakov Nimrodi, Amirav Nir, and most importantly, Adolf Skimmer. Oliver North also features into it. US even sent Marines to Lebanon to sell arms to Iran, but all under the facade of plausible deniability. Now, there's another Iranian who is very famous, and everyone knows about him. He was heading a shipping company before 1979, had close ties with Israel. After the 1979 revolution, he fled to Paris. And then after that, he was the one who was involved in negotiating all these deals in between Israel and Iran, which were done very, very tacitly. His name was Manuchehr Ghor Banifar. And he played a pivotal role in all these dealings. When any kind of diplomatic, under the table conversation used to happen between US or Iran, between Israel or Iran, it was through him. He was the agent, he was a fixer. who was involved in all of this. After his exile in Paris, he became a broker for arms deals between Iran and Israel. So, what both these countries were doing, where at one point they were exploiting all the opportunities which are there, and the second, on the other hand, they were also creating the entire facade that yes, the cause of nationalism, be it Jewish or Islamic, the cause of nationalism and can be converted into universalism. These were the two tactics that were used. Now, very interestingly, what then happens is these reports get out, and US, which had imposed sanctions against Iran, there was a Tower Committee report, all of these uh, went out. And then the arms sales had to stop. The Iran-Iraq war also had by then stopped. The first Gulf War had taken place. Soviet Union had collapsed. Now what is happening? What is the role which is something which I'll discuss in the next video, which is about the drones that are. So what Iran did, like when after Israel attacked the Iranian embassy in Syria on 1st of April, and two generals, Iranian generals, were killed, and there were civilian casualties. From that time, all the political pundits and media analysts were predicting that, Iran is not going to just take it. And the way they took the death of General Soleimani, there's going to be some kind of repercussion. So Iran did react. The reaction was on 13th of April, with 170 drones, 120 ballistic missiles, and 20 cruise missiles. Most of them were intercepted by the Iron Dome of Israel, but also intercepted by the British and the American forces which were there. In fact, most by the American forces. Now, something that you need to know about these drones. These are same kind of the drones that specifically Iran is using right now is the Hisa Sahid 136 drone, which the Russian version of it is called as Giran 2. Russia has been using it against Ukraine. So there's a tacit compliance between Russia and Iran emerging. At the same time, the FBI director yesterday has also cleared that China is just waiting to hack the US defense system. This is the time when the Iranian oil export to China has increased to 6%, and the oil prices worldwide have grown to 4% high. In my next episode, I'm going to talk to you about the complicity of, further complicity of Iran and Israel, and it's not what it looks like. Second, how are the nuclear, International Atomic Energy Agency has had a lot of surveillance over it, but still, how the nuclear facilities of Iran are, protected. Even if Israel wants to, they cannot harm them. I'll tell you why. In the third, I'll also tell you about more detailed repercussions of the Biden administration, which is asking Netanyahu specifically to give a solution of the Palestinian question if he really wants to solve the entire crisis that has unfolded, the humanitarian crisis that has unfolded, a genocide, the worsened aspect of occupation on the Palestinian territories. How all of these are linked, why it is important. Yes, I know we are in India starting with the elections today, but this is a very, very important aspect, and we should be very,